Well, try not to panic, but DoorDash just changed a pretty vital metric for you as a Dasher. I'm going to go over everything that's changed in this video, but if you don't like wasting your time waiting, let's say, at a restaurant, this might sting. So you saw the title. Yes, DoorDash is changing the completion rate and the number that you have to hit as a DoorDash Dasher. What is the completion rate? DoorDash says that's a percent of deliveries completed out of the 100 most recent delivery opportunities accepted. You can increase your completion rate by making sure every order you accept is delivered to the customer. If you unassign, you don't want it after you've accepted it. If you unassign it in the middle of a delivery you accepted, that could impact your completion rate. So here's what it's been, as far as I can remember, always 80%. So in essence, you didn't have to fully complete 20 out of 100 accepted deliveries. Now, there's a caveat here. You can't unassign after you've picked up the order. Technically, you can unassign. You just have to contact support, and they're going to tell you to obviously return that customer's order back to the store or restaurant. But then things started to change, and drivers started to notice that in some marketplaces, now you needed to maintain a minimum of 90% completion rate. And then also, consequently, we saw that echoed in the DoorDash support pages that said, hey, everyone is 80 except these markets. And that's right. More marketplaces just expanded to the new minimum 90% completion rate, including here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I just got the email. We wanted to let you know that on December 6th, we are making an update to the minimum completion rate criteria for Dashers in your area. We understand this is a change to the completion rate requirement you're used to. To help with this change, we're resetting your completion rates to 100% on December 6th, so you can continue dashing without interruption. You won't have to worry about building your completion rate back up, and instead, you can focus on maintaining the new 90% minimum completion rate. I mean, am I reading this wrong? Please, someone help me with this, because if we continue on that same email that I got, it says on November 20th, we are resetting your completion rates to 100%. This reset will be reflected in the Dasher app under the ratings tab after December 6th, a completion rate has launched at 90% on December 6th. But it said earlier in the same email, just a paragraph above, we will be resetting your completion rates to 100% on December 6th. So is it November 20th or December 6th? So yeah, I don't know if I'm reading that wrong or if that is a typo on a very important email, but let's consider the considerations. Sure, we're going to go with it. Of when to unassign an order. When would you even need to do that? Let's think. Well, as I told you, wait times at restaurants. So I get there, hey, order for so-and-so. That person's like, oh, you know what? We just got it and we're slammed. It's going to be probably, honestly, like 18 minutes or so. If there's an accident on the road, if you have car issues, engine, flat tire, personal emergency, if you happen, I heard this actually, a story in my research doing this, someone locked their keys in the car. You go make the pickup, but you locked your keys in the car, so now you're stuck, so I can't make this delivery. If you happen to be multi-apping and you have the screens up and you accepted a DoorDash, boom, I accepted it, I'm going to toggle back to Grubhub or Uber Eats or whatever, and in doing so, basically simultaneously, as I'm going to go offline, that I get a really good, better order than DoorDash. So then you're like, well, I'm not going to take the DoorDash. I've already accepted it, but I'm just going to unassign it. And I've said this before, don't accept both. Don't accept two different orders on different platforms. Honestly, I don't really care if they're headed in the same direction. Like, still with the tracking and ETAs nowadays, it's best practice not to do that. Something that I've had happen on Uber Eats, because their interface, you just got to click on that big offer card, which I don't hate, but is accepting an order on accident, and it can happen on DoorDash. So like, I I just clicked on $4 for 5 miles. I don't want that. Unassign. Now, what about this one? Let me throw you a curveball here. And while I do that, can you drop a like on this video? Consider subscribing. Check out yourdrivermike.com for courses and resources to help you in most any side hustle. But what if you get to the restaurant and it's closed? Like, well, I clearly can't do this assignment, so time to unassign. I'm going to mark I can't do this order. So when you decline an order, because things are always changing, you might not have this option anymore, but if DoorDash asks for a reason, don't click on anything else other than stores closed. And for that, most likely you have to go into the help tab, because just clicking decline and then it asks the reason, again, it may or may not ask you, but if it asks you and you say, I can't do this order, typically there's no follow-up. But if you click help and you click on, I think it's like problem with this order or something like can't make this delivery, then in there'll be an option to mark stores closed. And then the app is going to ask you for a picture, proof that it's closed, and then they'll pay you typically, at least, let me know if they don't do this, but typically DoorDash is going to pay you half. And again, typically, it's not going to affect your completion rate. But let me give you a game plan here. Number one, you better not be canceling or I guess unassigning without a valid reason. If you're just like keeping both apps open, you accept DoorDash, and then you keep the other apps online the entire time, and if you get anything that's better, then you unassign the DoorDash. You can't really be doing that. You can't use the unassign, especially now, and let me know if you have 80 or 90%, as really a strategic thing. It really has to be a pressing issue. Otherwise, you're going to unassign too much. And I'll say for like the most common circumstance, I know it's going to stink, but I'll tell you, you're going to have to accept that there's wait times at restaurants. Sometimes it's going to be 10 minutes, 12 minutes, it kind of gets to that pain point, 15 minutes, like that's really when I'd want to unassign. Just use it sparingly. Understand it is what? It is 10 now out of your last rolling, by the way, your last rolling 100 accepted delivery requests. Initial verdict for you, and let me know if you have 80 or 90% here, but do you want the most control and autonomy over your independent contractor work and earnings? Absolutely. On the other hand, is this a massive red flag, a huge awful thing? Not necessarily. It's not fun. It's not an overall improvement per se to that flexibility, but it's not going to crush you. In fact, I mean, my completion rate is 98%. I'm hearing from a lot of you, it's 90 plus already. I guess the question really is, because emergencies are very rare. It happens, right? But it's rare. Let's be real here. So what? Restaurant wait times, even restaurant closures, that's more rare. So I guess it's really what? Longer wait times when you'd unassign. So how common is that? Is it more common than 10% of your deliveries? In essence, that's what we're asking here. Are 10% plus of your deliveries longer than, let's say, a 15-minute wait?